So when I was young, my favorite movie series was the Harry Potter series. And I think most of you can agree that Harry Potter is everyone's childhood favorite. But there was one particular character in that movie that really inspired me to do more things, and that was Emma Watson, and also known as Hermione Granger in the movie. And I just really loved her passion and her dedication in the things that she does, such as how she presented at the UN Convention for Feminism. And so I started to do some research about her, and I found out that she went to Brown University and majored in literature. And so I told my mom one day that I'm going to do exactly what she did, go to Brown, major in literature, and be featured in some sort of movies. And so that's my starting point for my inspiration, my admiration towards Emma Watson, as I did more research about the nitty-gritty details about her, such as her favorite color, her favorite sport. And I realized, though, that as time passed by, that she and I were going different paths. She was achieving too much for me to achieve, and I thought maybe acting wasn't my way. And so Emma Watson, who was my total inspiration when I was young, started to deviate from my mind. And so I questioned myself, what is a role model? And according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it defines it as a person whose behavior in a particular role is imitated by others. And there's a part about this definition that really made me question more things, which is imitated by others. Are role models really somebody that we should imitate? Are they someone that we should follow exactly their steps? Or are they someone that we should just keep in mind, just be aware that they exist? So my next question after this one was, who is my role model? Of course, there are an infinite number of people who inspire me every day. Emma Watson, Barack Obama, I have my teachers and parents, but I really wanted to find the one that could be my role model. And so I went on a quest to find my role model through a means that I personally love, which is reading. And so there are 3 books that I found that could be my role model, one of which was actually my role model. The first book is When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi, and he's a neurosurgeon who died in March 2015 due to terminal cancer, and he describes his life first as a doctor and the second as a patient. And he explains how these 2 different disparate subjects, such as literature and human biology, complement one another. And he personally majored in literature and human biology, so he describes how literature gave him the human experience, while human biology gave him the physical contact of human life. And this really blurred the line between the STEM and liberal arts subjects that we have, and the idea that we have if we're in the STEM side that we should follow all the STEM subjects in Korean society. And the problem with this one was Paul Kalanithi is an incredible man who went to Stanford, Yale, and Cambridge University, and he received terminal cancer. So this made me question, what are the chances of me going to all those prestigious schools and majoring in neurobiology? So this was eliminated from my candidate list. The second one is Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, and she coincidentally did a TED Talk as well. And she explains about feminism in today's society and how we overlook feminism today and the existence of gender wage gap opportunities and gender opportunities. And the limiting factor with this one is Sheryl Sandberg is also the CEO of Facebook, and so I asked myself, what are the chances of me being the CEO of Facebook and yet doing what I love as well? So this got eliminated as well. And so already 2 out of 3 books were eliminated. So I started to question, maybe I'm looking at the definition of role model in the wrong way. Maybe role model is not necessarily someone I should imitate. And so my answer came when I was talking with my counselors and teachers about a personal goal that I had, which is participating more in class. And all my teachers and counselors told me that you can never be like that person next to you who always raises their hand up when the teacher asks questions. You can never be the guy across the hall who always asks the questions first. But you need to stay true to yourself. And this idea of staying true to myself was such a convoluted topic that I was super confused by, because I thought, okay, so does that mean that I was lying to myself the whole time? And my counselor explained to me how staying true to yourself means that it's understanding that you can never be like somebody else. Like, you can never become somebody else that you admire. And so I found that there's a division between saying that you want to be like that person and saying that you take the qualities to your own advantage. So for instance, if I say that I want to be like Emma Watson, that means that I want to do exactly what she's done, follow her exact steps. But that's different from me saying, okay, so Emma Watson spoke at the UN Convention for Feminism. I'm going to do something like that in my community, in my school, and my family. So there's a difference. And I like to see this as a spectrum between saying you have no role models and then having too much wanting to be a role model. So on the left side, we have having no role models. And significant amount of research say that these role models are critical in people's lives because they inspire us and motivate us every day. However, if we have no role models, we have no aim, and we start to see only ourselves in society, and that can ultimately lead to worst case scenario, egotism. And then the other side, we have too much wanting to be like your role model. Ultimately, if this is your friend next to you or your colleague, this can lead to jealousy, which can ultimately lead to having no confidence. And it can also lead to having no variety because being like your role model means that you're following someone who's already existed in this world. And so it's important for us to find a balance between having no role models and having too much wanting to be a role model. But there's one particular group in today's society that really lean towards the too much wanting to be like your role model, and that is Eastern countries, especially in Korean society. So this is an image analysis done by Liu Bang, who analyzes the difference between how Westerners and Easterners view themselves. So if you look at the top right one, or left one, it says that Easterners, if we're sad inside, we tend to smile outside. On the other hand, Westerners, if they're sad inside, they just express themselves as sad. Likewise, in this image, we see that Easterners tend to see themselves as more reserved, and they take failures more seriously compared to Westerners, who take failures as just a part of their life. And so, the difference between Westerners and Easterners just shows that Easterners tend to be more reserved, and they tend to believe that their failures are important to them, while Westerners are more likely to take more risks and are likely to be happy with themselves. And I realize that one factor that affects this divide is because of the role of parents. And according to the Nation Youth Survey, 37% of young children believe that parents are their role models. And yes, parents are critical in students' lives, but the problem that we have in Korean society is parents are pressuring their students to be like somebody else who they're not. So take, for instance, there's a student named John who went to Harvard University 3 years ago. And there's a mother who's trying to send their child to college this year. The mother would tell the child, okay, John went to Harvard and he did soccer, basketball, speech, and debate. You need to do exactly like what he's done so you can get into Harvard University as well. This is exactly what we shouldn't be doing in today's society. We should be pressuring our students to follow someone else's step, to become like somebody who they're not. So yes, when they're young, we need to be their role models. We need to help to lead them. But as they grow up, we need to step back and let them experience life and let them find their own role models. So instead of saying, okay, follow exactly what he's done, we should be telling them, okay, so John did speech and debate. You don't like speech and debate, then find your own way of expressing yourself. He did soccer and you don't like soccer, then do basketball. We need to be giving them opportunities to discover their own interests and not just imitating other people's. So after analyzing what role model really was for me, I went back to the question of who was my ultimate role model. And I found out that everything that I came up with, everything that I analyzed ultimately came back to me. And I believe that my own role model is just myself. And I think this can seem as a cliche idea for most of you, but in a society where we're so pressured to be like somebody else, to achieve good goals by following someone else's step, we often forget that we have ourselves as our own role model. And so my idea for you is we need to start writing our own books. For too long, we're constantly reading someone else's book about their lives, about how they achieve their own goals. But this is not to say that we should preclude role models. Role models are a significant part of our life. But what we need to be doing is not trying to imitate what they do, but we need to be using their qualities to our own advantage. So I ask you to write your own novel. First chapter should be about the people that you admire, Emma Watson, my teachers, my family. The second chapter should be about how you use their qualities to your own advantage. And the rest of the book should be about how you develop yourself as your own role model. So I want to leave you with 2 questions. Firstly, are you going to constantly read someone else's books? Are you going to constantly read about their accomplishment, about their lives, about how they become their own role model? Or are you going to start writing? Writing about how you use people that you admire, their qualities to your own advantage, and how you build yourself as your own role model. Thank you.